Hi BookTube, it's Amy, and we're back with the Anatomy of Bibliomania by Holbrook Jackson on page 101 with a section titled Vain and Pedantic Reading Condemned. Some read to think, these are rare, some to write, these are common, and some to talk, and these form the great majority. There are others, and many of them, that eschew all reading except for vainglory. Who read huge works to boast what ye have read. I think that's what that quote is there. From Crabbe's The Library. Who read huge works to boast what ye have read? Or no, I think who read huge works to boast what ye have read. Or ye have read. Yes. Okay, I think. Who read huge works to boast what ye have read? I think that's our correct interpretation of the read and reads in that sentence. To disport their second-hand stock of ideas and information for a fading, greedy glory, to cozen and delude the foolish world, to peacock themselves at large like Aesop's daw in borrowed feathers. Among them are others who affect all books of past and modern ages, but read no farther than the title pages. They prate. Plato said this, Aristotle said that, this from Nietzsche, that from Croce, the other from Shaw. But wait, what say they themselves? Nothing. It is all idle prattle. A parrot would say as much as these pedantists, who have threshed a stalk of print and book, and winnowed a chattering wind, and many a soul wherefrom he stole, but his he cannot find, quoting from Kipling's Tomlinson there. Such readers, if so I dare name them, are no better than the Pretender, stigmatized by Earle as a mere nomenclator of authors, which he has read in general in the catalogue, and in particular and in the title, and goes seldom so far as the dedication. He never talks of anything but learning, and learns all from talking. Quoting there from a Pretender in Learning, Microcosmography. And I've lost my spot. A Pretender in Learning, and learns all from talking. As Roman noblemen were wont to greet and compliment the rabble in the street, had nomenclators in their trains to claim acquaintance with the meanest by his name, and by so mean contemptible a bribe, trepan the suffrages of every tribe, so learned men by authors' names unknown have gained no small improvement of their own, and he's esteemed the learnedest of all others, that has the largest catalogue of authors. Quoting from S. Butler, Satire upon Imperfection and Abuse of Human Learning. Some say Montaigne went even farther by having in their retinue tame pedants to prompt him, should they at any time move among friends who desired to speak on matters pertaining to scholarship. Then came the pedants' chance. They were rushed up to fill learning's breach, some with discourse, some with verse of Homer, others some with a sentence, each one according to his skill or profession. These rich Romans persuaded themselves that all such learning was their own, because it was contained in their servants' minds, whose sufficience is placed in their sumptuous libraries. When asked what they know, they will require a book to demonstrate the same. One durst not tell me that his posteriors are scabious, except he turn over his lexicon to see what posteriors and scabious is. They take the opinions and knowledge of others into their protection, and that is all. Such knowledge is not enfoffed and made their own, as it should be. They recall one who, having need of fire, goes to his neighbour's house rather than light his own. What avails it to us to have bellies full of meat, if it be not digested, if it be not transchanged in us, except it nourish, augment, and strengthen us? Would Lucullus, whom learning made so great a captain, have acted thus? We rely too much on other men's arms, and so disannul our own strength. Will I arm myself against the fear of death? It is at Seneca's cost. Will I draw comfort either for myself or any other, I borrow the name of Cicero. He loves not this begged for sufficience. Sure I am, he stiffly concludes, we can never be wise but by our own wisdom. And essays from Secum, it looks like. For to remember too much is to forget all, to be no better than a biblioathlus or book forgetter, as Didymus, the grammarian, who had written so many books, some say as many as 3,500, that he could not recall the names of half of them. There are multitudes who read merely to qualify themselves for the world. Man has a natural desire to know, but the one half is for interest, the other for show. They are small fellows reading coxcombs and Mallet's phrase, grave sons of idle industry and pride, whom learning but perverts and books misguide. Quoting there from Book Lovers Anthology, perhaps. They are small fellows, reading coxcombs and Mallet's phrase, grave sons of idle industry and pride, whom learning but perverts and books misguide. John Earl rightly calls them pretenders to learning, scholar mountebanks, and their art a delusion, and he marks one down as oftener in his study than at his book, delighted for you to deprend him, yet he hears you not till the third knock, and then comes out very angry at interrupted. His table is spread with some classic folio, which is as constant to it as the carpet, and hath lain open in the same page this half year. His pocket is seldom without a Greek Testament or Hebrew Bible, which he opens only in church, and that when some stander by looks over. He has sentence for company, some scatterings from Seneca and Tacticus, which are good upon all occasions. If you read anything in the morning, he comes up all at dinner, and as long as that lasts, the discourse is his. He is a great plagiary of tavern wit, and comes to sermons only when he may talk of Austin. His parcels are the same mere scrapings from company, yet he complains at parting what time he has lost. Bliss as frankly reproves such sottish and idle enthusiasts who call learning but a splendium peccatium. Such coxcombs and mountebanks are numerous and familiar in all ages. They are satirized by young. Unlearned men of books assume the care, as eunuchs are the guardians of the fair. And Hazlitt sees them hanging like a film and cobweb upon letters, or like the dust upon the outside of knowledge. But we are well content if, as Earl adds, those who have taken pains to be asses, though not to be scholars, are at length discovered and laughed at. Dr. Johnson recognized that it was common for people to talk about books, to retail the sentiments of others, but he exonerates himself and Boswell from that vice. You and I, he said, do not talk from books. Looking for the footnote here, quoting from Tour, Hills Boswell. I'm assuming that is a book about Boswell's tour of the Hebrides, perhaps. It's difficult to know what Jackson is quoting in each of these fragmented footnotes. Reading may make a man full, but is no guarantee that he will be wise or even bright. You, poor fool, must have learned your letters backwards. Books have turned your life upside down. You have gabbled your silly philosophy to earth and heaven, which pay no heed whatever to your words. Salamasus was a man of enormous reading and no judgment. Andrew Kippis, according to Robert Hall, laid so many books upon his head that his brains could not move, and in sad cadence, as the bands condense, the curfew tolls the knell of parting sense. Quoting from Mateus's Pursuit of Literature. Macaulay insinuates as much in his tale of the young fellow in the Oxford coach who read a novel, The Hungarian Brothers, the whole way. The coach stopped for the party to dine in the High Street, and this youth, who had passed half an hour in the midst of that city of palaces, looked down about him with his mouth open as he re-entered the coach. And all the while that we were driving away past the Ratcliffe Library, the great court of All Souls, Exeter, Lincoln, Trinity, Balliol, and St. John's. When about a mile on the road, the youth who had not hitherto spoken said, "That was a pretty town enough. Pray, sir, what is it called?" Macaulay could not answer for laughing, but the youth seemed unconscious of his own absurdity. When books distract a man from the proper observation of life, they do nothing but generate a learned folly. Simia est simia, etiissimi purpura vestuar, translating to an ape is an ape, though clad in scarlet. And our footnote is saying it is a Greek proverb noted in a work by Erasmus, Praise of Folly. Sir W. Waller feared above most things connected with study such vain acquisition of knowledge. Take me off from the curiosity of knowing only to know, he prayed, from the vanity of knowing only to be known, and from the folly of pretending to know more than I do know. Others in all times have shared his fears. If I had read as much as other men, bragged Hobbes, I should have been as ignorant as others. And Elizabeth Barrett Browning confessed in a letter to R.H. Horne that if she had not read half as much, she would have had stronger and better faculties, for reading is the ne plus ultra of intellectual indolence. The like may be said of any faculty. It is our own fault if we permit our books to become sepulchres of thought, and I would therefore rather conclude with our politic Francis Bacon, who in his treatise of the advancement of learning admits such evils and many more, that if any man be laborious in reading and study, and yet idle in business and action, if it groweth from some weakness of body or softness of spirit. Such as Seneca speaketh of, quidam tam sunt umbratiles ut putent in turbido es quicquid in lus est. Some more Latin, apologies there, and not of learning, or I say of true and legitimate reading. For as Hazlitt rightly holds, books are but one inlet of knowledge, and the powers of the mind, like those of the body, should be left open to all impressions. So there's a warning there. Don't spend all your time tucked away in your library. But that's the end of that section on vain and pedantic reading. Ending for us there, midway through page 105, with the next section being titled Old versus New Books, which should be quite an interesting one, I am sure. But we'll leave it there for today.